Hey, I'm joined today by Jared Flynn, Bulk Loads. How you doing, Jared?
Good, Doug. Thanks for having me on your show. And man, I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you so much for coming down to the Ozarks and being
Oh,
part of our conference, our bulk freight conference.
loved it, Jared. And I walked in, I was just knocked over by how many people were there. Incredible turnout, incredible program. So it was really a great event. Ian, thank you for the Carhartt bag. Although I had a client to tell me that he thought only people who got their hands dirty were entitled to get Carhartt, which
That's true.
disqualified me. So,
They are for the hardworking man and woman. Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Jared, couple topics we'll hit for this month. Driverless trucks in Texas.
Yeah.
What are you seeing and what are you thinking?
You know, we're not seeing it hit bulk loads as far as our community forums, but the more and more we keep researching that, Texas is huge for oil and gas, and that's a big part of our business. We deal with a lot of bulk haulers that are hauling either, the frac sand, or the liquid out or the water, a lot of just bulk raw commodities. So we are seeing that it's going to be something that's going to be hitting, our member base. Pretty soon too, because again, you look at the driverless trucks, and again, you can do all this research on it, but again, they try to put these in spots where there's going to be less dense traffic. So again, well sites, oil fields, stuff like that, where they're not going to be out on the major road. But we are seeing that. I mean, I was just watching a video early this morning that there was a group, a blogger, YouTuber that was following one of these trucks. I think it was one of the Aurora trucks from
Right.
point A to point B.
I thought it was interesting that they now have the driver back in, not from any issues they had with the driving, but I believe it was PACCAR who manufactured their trucks. Uh, and my guess is somebody in their legal department, Jared, said, well, wait a minute. If there's an accident, we're going to get roped into this thing. Let's put a driver behind there as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just right now, and Doug, you probably know more. Texas seems to be kind of the main spot. Are we seeing this in
yeah.
other states as well?
Haven't seen it as much on it, Jared, particularly not out on the roads or heard much talk about it. As I go around the country, Texas seems to be the primary one. What was it? A couple of years ago, they transported that load of beer
Yep.
from one point to another. Thank goodness of all commodities that made it there safely and without interference. But it's going to be interesting. I was wondering from the bulk load perspective, in terms of short runs or whether even at various locations that might be something that they try to do to reduce labor on that. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye out on
Yeah,
that.
it'll be time will tell, and I've been wrong about a lot of things, but bulk hauling, what we deal with, I mean, a lot of these older feed mills and rural areas, and I just think there's a lot more complexities involved from getting loads point A to point B versus I'm just saying something that's just out on the road going to a DC to DC or something like that.
Well, in the operations that the bulk load people do as well, there's more than just taking the truck from point A to B for
Yep.
most of the times on it. So I think, and again, your conference was great. It helped me appreciate, and I appreciated the display area over on the other side where I got to look at a lot of these up close. And one of our folks here from Pennsylvania, Ryan Garber, took me through and kind of gave me a course on how some of that works. So
That's
no,
right. I was
that
just gonna
worked
say
out
I
good.
forgot too that
Yeah,
ironically that Garber, but even Earl Martin, I think that those
Earl
guys.
Martin folks. Yeah,
Yeah.
Earl Martin folks were there as well. Hey, next subject: CDLs for illegal immigrants. What are you seeing, and what are your thoughts? And does that hit, and even the English language provisions hit the bulk load haulers?
Yeah, so we're seeing it. We probably hear this more from other probably mid-sized to larger fleets, which is a smaller group of our members. Bulk loads, we're an ecosystem of really that small mom pops because that's how we exist,
Right.
helping those guys find loads. But as we've been traveling and talking with some of these larger fleets, they're the ones bringing up how it's created this unfair playing field for them. These people that are
Yeah.
doing things by the rules, and then and I know we're in southern Missouri, and I believe a company in Arkansas that was hiring some of these illegals, these CDLs that got in a wreck, and I mean I think it was a huge fatality. So that's where we're seeing more of the light of like, hey, there needs to be more done, more legislation on this to eliminate or prohibit these illegal CDLs.
You're bringing up a war story for me now, Jared. Be careful. I had a case out of Arkansas, a driver from China who only spoke Mandarin got in an accident and brought suit against our company. And it turned out, I said to his attorney, who was a nice guy, I said, hey, I'm going to ask him if he's here legally. And he said, oh, he's afraid you're going to ask him that. He's not. And he had taken the CDL exam in Tennessee in Mandarin, and his CDL was registered to a house in Tennessee that our investigator had trouble finding. So it's a whole world out there. And I was just on with the folks from South Carolina trucking the other day, and they were talking about if you have to have English language proficiencies, are we still going to give CDL exams in foreign languages? And I think it's, it begs the question, how can you have one without the other on that?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but,
and the thing is, I believe we need to give everybody a fair shot. But again, we're a
absolutely.
fair opportunity out there.
Yeah.
And I've even heard stories where, and again, whether it's true or false, but like some of these illegals have been pulled over. They don't know what to do with them, so they just leave them alone. And again,
Yeah.
that may be hearsay, but I've heard that several times where it's like some of these they find that they're illegal, but there's nothing they can do to them.
I think that's been the problem in the past in terms of, and I have that even in cases, Jared, where it'll turn out that the plaintiff, not just a fellow in Arkansas, but I have other cases where, yeah, I'm not here legally, but, what are you going to do about it on the thing? We were talking before we came on, Louisiana now is looking as part of their tort reform to say, look, if you're not in the country legally, we're not going to make you, or not going to totally penalize you. You can still get your medical bills, but you're not going to be able to get the non-economic damages if you're not here legally. We'll take care of what you need, but that's it. So it'll be interesting to see if that goes through in Louisiana on that.
Yeah.
How about the English language impact on the bulk load group?
We don't, I guess I don't see it as much through ours. And we have some rural areas, Western Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, where you have a lot more minority trucking companies.
Right.
But I probably wouldn't be fair to really speak on that, as again, it doesn't hit my plate or my email very seldom.
But small sample size, but my read from the folks at the conference is, like you said, small mom pop family operations, and so you're not probably going to hit that what we see on the other parts of the trucking industry, the truckload carriers and those folks are out there with a lot of folks who aren't conversant in English. It may have a ripple effect. 3% by the estimate of the FMCSA are not language conversant. So
wow.
So if those folks come out of the driver force, it may, I think, create competition, or the wages that would be try to appeal to the bulk load folks or anybody else who would be out there driving may have a ripple effect along those lines on it.
Yeah, and again, the bulk, we're such a it's a big sector, but it's such a small sector compared to the general freight, where you got the dry van, the reefer, the flatbed space. I mean, I think that's 80 something percent, where the bulk we're a smaller niche. And again, I think you see more illegals or foreigners that probably go into the general freight space than you see kind of in the niche bulk stuff. Because again, and our focus on bulk is more agriculture, but we deal with more kind of the farming, mom pop, rural. So you don't see that influx of probably illegals that you do in as you do in the general freight.
Sure. Now, we have some extra time here. One of the things I thought I saw one of your videos recently where you're out in my part of the world, Denver, Pennsylvania. I think you filmed it last October, but it kind of tied into the potential tariff impact on bulk load folks, Jared.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting to see this unfold. The thing is about what we do, what I've seen in my 20-year career, and again, I've never had to deal with tariffs, or it hasn't been in my career, But again, where I see the bigger impacts, it's usually natural disasters. So in areas, because again, agriculture, grain production, and all that, if we've had severe droughts or tornadoes, hurricanes, those are the big impacts that we see that really have constraints on the bulk community. The thing is, for lack of better terms, the Midwest and even Pennsylvania, those farmers are going to continue to produce corn and soybeans and wheat. And again, I shouldn't say there is a barrier, but whether that corn's trading at $3 a bushel or $8 a bushel, the bushels will still be produced, and it's still got to get moved through the supply chain and still going to get digested somewhere, whether that stays interior or goes into an export market. So there are going to be some effects, but I'd like to say we're not recession proof or resilient, but again, I don't think we'll see those impacts as much as you will probably some of the finished good products.
I see recently the Congress, Senate, and the House have passed legislation to undo some of the California EV requirements. Were the electronic vehicles impact on bulk load at all? It didn't strike me that it would, but I don't know if that's something that your folks have faced at all, Jared.
The bulk community, again, since we deal with more smaller owner operators, a lot of our companies are more even pre-emission type vehicles. You were at our conference, you've seen the slicked up Peterbilts and chromed out, and that's not all of them. But again, when you deal with smaller owner operators, these guys are more driving. They call it the big iron, the bigger chrome trucks versus the mega fleets that are more aerodynamics and stuff like that. So yeah, when it comes to, we do embrace technology. Obviously, we're a technology company, but I don't know if we'll see the effects of EV on our fleets as we do. Just, again, we're dealing with more rural areas where I just see those things are going to have more effects more into the urban cities before they reach out here in the Midwest.
And I think, Jared, if they get traction at all, the way things are going, I think it's going back the other way. Yeah. Jared, thank you so much for your time, expertise. Look forward to doing it again. Keep in touch.
Hey, absolutely, Doug. Thanks for having me on. And again, I always want to give you a shout out, man. Thank you for what you're doing out there for trucking, helping trucking. And again, I can't say it enough. When you say attorney in trucking, it's usually in a negative context. And just love that you're out there supporting and helping the everyday American trucker. So God bless you.
Thank you.